COVID-19 is a topic of global discussion. Therefore, it is worthy to discuss about its pathophysiology. In this video, I am going to tell you the detailed pathophysiology of COVID-19. Hey everyone, welcome back to HM Learnings. I am Harshita, the creator of HM Learnings, where students come to clear their concept and to get the study material. Make sure that you have subscribed my channel. You can also follow HM Learnings on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter for daily updates. We have also started uploading all our content on website known as SlideShare. You can easily download and clip our slides from that website. I will also share the link of this video slides in the description box. So you just need to click on that link and you will be on the SlideShare. So we will start our today's video. That is about the pathophysiology of COVID-19, and this video is divided into the two parts, part 1 and part 2. So today we are going to see the part 1. So we know that the coronavirus are the large enveloped single stranded RNA viruses which are found in the humans but in other mammals too, like in the dogs, cats, birds, bats. It has a diameter of about 90 to 140 nanometer and it has a spike on its surface which is ranging from 9 nanometer to the 12 nanometer. So we know that we have studied so many signaling pathways whenever we talk about the physiology, and we know that the signaling pathway means that there is an effector and there is a target cell. The target cell means that the one which has a specific receptor which is specific for its effector. So like that also the virus has a target cell. The target cell has the receptor which allow the viral binding, and that is why it is called as a target cell. So the coronavirus also has a target cell. This includes the nasal and the bronchial epithelial cells, the type 1 and the type 2 pneumocytes, endothelial cells of the pulmonary capillaries. So you need to understand by this that the coronavirus has the receptors at almost every level of the respiratory tract and can lead to the manifestations of the upper respiratory tract infection, could have lower respiratory tract infection, could have damaged the alveoli resulting in the alveolar collapse or in the pneumonia, even to the acute respiratory distress syndrome, and then it has the vascular manifestations also like the vascular immunopathy, coagulopathy, microthrombi formation. So this is important to understand that wherever there is a target cell of any virus or for any bacteria, there will be a complication, there will be a manifestation associated with that. Okay, so with this we will start the pathophysiology of the COVID-19, that how the different complications of the coronavirus occurs when the COVID-19 or when the coronavirus comes in the contact with our respiratory system. Okay, so we know that our respiratory system has a upper respiratory tract and a lower respiratory tract. So in the pathophysiology we are going to study first about the nasal cavity when the virus is in nasal cavity, then when the virus is in the upper respiratory tract, and then when the virus reaches the alveoli. So accordingly that there is a classification of the COVID-19 patients which we are going to see in the next video. But now we are going to see a pathophysiology at the various levels. So this virus travels from the nasal cavity to the upper respiratory tract and then finally to the alveoli. So what is being happening is here that the coronavirus COVID-19 is basically transmitted to the nasal cavity via the help of the respiratory droplets of an infected individual, and the nasal cavity also has the target cells for the coronavirus. So this coronavirus came and bind to the nasal cavity. Now after binding to the nasal cavity, the virus will propagate to the upper respiratory tract and then to the alveoli. So how does this occurs? We are going to see that. So now we know that the virus comes into the contact with its target cell. This is the target cell and this is the coronavirus. Okay, the spike proteins are here on its surface. Now what is being happening, if you can see here on the target cell, there are two types of the receptors which are shown. The one is the transmembrane type 2 serine protease and the another one is the angiotensin converting enzyme 2 receptor. The S protein is on the spike of the coronavirus. So this type 2 transmembrane protease serine receptor, it is allowing, it does what? It activates the S protein, and after the activation of the S protein will interact with the ACE2 protein with the ACE2 receptor, and after this what will happen, there will be cleavage of this ACE2 receptor, and by that the virus will enter inside the host cell, that is in the target host cell. So you can see that the cell which is processing these two receptors, these two proteins on their membrane, will be the target cells for the coronaviruses, because this will induce the viral entry inside the cell. So the viral entry inside the cell is by the process of the endocytosis. After entry of the virus inside the cell, there will be a release of the RNA, that is the genetic material of the coronavirus. Now we know that the coronavirus are the retrovirus, so it will do what? It will take over the machinery of the cell, our cell machinery, to produce the viral mRNA, then it will produce the viral particles. Now this viral particles will then be surrounded by the vesicles and they will be released. Okay, so by this you can understand that the virus has entered our cell, use our cell machinery, increase its number, reproduce itself, and then it will release outside the cell to do what? To infect the further adjacent cells. So that is how the virus which has entered in the nasal cavity, it will start targeting the host cell, replicate inside the host cell, released out of the host cell, and then propagates through the respiratory tract. Okay, when the virus is in nasal cavity, there is limited immune response. The person is asymptomatic. Okay, no symptom has been produced. What will happen? But still the person has the ability to infect the other individuals. If this time the person does the nasal swab test, it will be positive, but there will be no symptoms. Now what will happen if the virus progresses further to the upper respiratory tract? What will happen? In the upper respiratory tract, the same process will happen, but here what will happen? There is the innate immunity response occurs. There will be release of the cytokines like the chemo, if I will write here, like the chemokine, then ligand can be released. Okay, then the interferons like beta and gamma, they can be, beta and the delta, they can be released. Okay, so these are responsible for the innate immunity. So the person develops the features, clinical features, mild symptoms like the like the fever, like the fatigueness, like the cough, dry cough. So the patient has came to know that now he has a symptom. Okay, so now after this what will happen? About 80% of the patients, they will remain at this stage and they will be managed at the home by the home isolation by taking the mild antibiotics, and they will be fine. But in some of the individuals, about 20% of the cases, this disease further progresses and reaching at the level of the alveoli. Okay, so now at the alveoli what will happen? The same thing will happen. It will target the cells, okay, the type 1 and the type 2 immunocytes, specifically more the type 2 immunocytes. And what will happen? This is the diagram which is showing here. Okay, so this is the alveoli. Okay, and this is the you can say the perivascular space between the alveoli and the alveolar capillary, and this is the capillary. Okay, now what is happening is that you can see this is the infected type 2 immunocytes, because coronavirus it predominantly infects the type 2 immunocytes, so it will came and infect it. Okay, it will enter the cell by the help of the endocytosis, and then you can see that there will be release of the virus. Okay, by using the machinery of this type 2 pneumonocyte, it has reproduced and now it will be released into the surroundings so that it can infect more and more adjacent other cells. Okay. So now what will happen in response to this injury, this type 2 pneumonocytes will release the inflammatory cytokines, okay, as well as there are alveolar macrophages in the alveoli which sense the injury and start releasing the inflammatory cytokines. Now they are releasing a various variety of the cytokines. They are releasing the interleukin 1, 6, then they are releasing the interferons, then they are also releasing the monocyte chemoattractant protein, macrophage chemoattractant protein. So they are basically releasing a wide variety of the cytokine, and this is called as a cytokine storm. Now these two, what they are actually chemoattractant, that is they are causing the chemotaxis of the circulatory neutrophils, T helper cells, cytotoxic T cells, and what will happen by the help of the movement called as a diapedesis. Diapedesis means what? Between the endothelial cells there are some gaps. So through their gaps what will happen? You can see that this is the one type of the immunocell, and with the help of the space between the endothelial cells, it is now entering inside the alveolar space. Okay, and after entering the alveolar space, what will happen? It will try to fight with the infection, try to kill the virus, but by doing so, what will happen? There will be a further release of the inflammatory markers. The inflammation will be further increased, and as we know that the virus progresses, what will happen? There is progression of the lung injury as well as there is progression of the lung inflammation. Both these are causing the alveolar damage. Okay, so type 1 pneumonocytes are damaged, type 2 pneumonocytes are damaged, there is lung inflammation too. So this is how the lung is the coronavirus is infected at the level of the lungs. Okay, now further what will happen with the disease progression? Okay, as the disease progresses, what will happen further on? That the integrity of the alveolar epithelium and the capillary endothelial cell will be compromised. Okay, will be compromised. How this happens, we are going to see in the next diagram. These are the points which I have explained to you. Okay, because HM Learning always provide the notes. So these are the points in a sequence to let you know that what is happening at what point. Okay, so this is a diagram beautifully showing you the pathophysiology which is happening at the level of the lungs, at the level of the alveolar, that is the gas exchange units, given in the Lancet recent paper just 2 to 3 days before it is being published online. So here you can see that this is at the early stage. This is at the early stage. The coronavirus has reached to the alveoli. It is start infecting the type 1 cells as well as the type 2 cells as well as the alveolar endothelial cells. Okay, so what is happening? You can see that it is going to bind with the ACE2 and causing its replication, released into the alveolar interspaces, infecting the further cells. In response to that, what will happen? There will be release of the inflammatory cytokines. So the T lymphocytes has came into the alveolar interspace, as well as you can see the monocytes has came into the interstitial spaces. You can also see the perivascular lymphocytes. All this is termed as a process called as a infiltration. So infiltration means when the immune cells came out of the circulation and they are in the interstitial space or they are in the alveolar interspace. Now with the disease progression, you can see now here the disease has been progressed. What has happened is that as the disease progresses, this tissue or the cell start releasing a factor called as a protein called as a kinins. Now kinins do what? Kinins will go and bind to its receptor on the lung endothelium, which is causing the causing the relaxation of the vascular smooth muscle cells, which leads to the increase in the permeability of the capillary membrane, and as a result what will happen, the fluids start moving from the capillary into the alveolar interspaces, resulting in the pulmonary edema. Okay, as well as there is release of the further nitric oxide, which is causing the further vasodilation, further increase in the capillary permeability, and further resulting in the pulmonary edema. Okay, so there is a alveolar damage, alveolar wall damage. The membrane, the barrier, the integrity of the barrier between the epithelium and the endothelial cells, it is also get damaged, and plus there is pulmonary edema. All these factors does what? All these factors will impair the diffusion capacity of the oxygen, because ultimately what will happen? The thickness of the diffusion barrier will be increased because of the alveolar damage, alveolar wall damage. The endothelial membrane is also damaged by the attack of the virus. Okay, as well as there is pulmonary edema. So there will be increase in the thickness of the diffusion barrier. So the oxygen finds it very difficult to be diffused from the alveoli into the blood, and there will be a clinical feature of hypoxemia. Okay, so this is about that what is how it is happening. Okay, so the progression of the viral injury along with the host inflammatory response. The viral injury is progressive. Why? Because the target cell, the host cell, is allowing the virus to replicate. So many thousands, hundreds of the viral particles are being released, and they are attacking the further 100 cells. So it is very, very difficult to control their growth with the help of the immune response of the host itself. And there is host inflammatory response also. Okay, so they would lead to the alveolar wall damage, as well as the epithelial endothelial barrier will be also get damaged. This widespread acute inflammation, lung injury, alveolar edema, and alveolar damage leads to a condition called as an acute respiratory distress syndrome, when we say that the patient is in severe COVID-19. Okay, the acute respiratory distress syndrome is characterized by the bilateral lung infiltrates and the severe progressive hypoxemia. So I have already explained you the region of the hypoxia. Now, what do you mean by the bilateral lung infiltrates? Infiltrates again means what? That there will be entry of the immune cells into the alveolar spaces, into the interstitial spaces. So what will happen when you see the CT scan? You can see the glass ground opacities in that. Okay, so that is called as a lung infiltrates. Now this is a beautiful flow chart which is explaining everything I have explained till now. Okay, so we will just have a look on it. So the inhaled SARS-CoV-2 will bind to the ciliative secretory cells, or you can just remember the nasal epithelium, via the help of angiotensin converting enzyme 2. The viral replication will happen and local propagation with a limited immune response. In the nasal cavity, there will be limited immune response. Now, this area will contain the infection and doesn't lead to spread further. So the patient will get improved in the 14 days. But if there will be involvement of the further respiratory tract and it gets progressed to the lower respiratory tract, what will happen? The same thing will happen. There will be cytokine storm which will happen in response to the injury. The chemoattraction for the neutrophil, CD4, CD8 cells along with the B cell differentiation to form the antibodies against the virus, and then there will be diapedesis of the inflammatory cells in the lung tissues, and it will further cause the inflammation as well as a lung injury. So host defense and attempt of the viral clearance. All this is lead to the diffuse alveolar damage with the resulting acute respiratory distress syndrome. Okay, on the other hand, the viral replication is continuing to happen, so it will damaging the type 1 and the type 2 cells and the endothelial cells, so further leads to the alveolar damage and the acute respiratory distress syndrome. So this is the part 1 of the COVID-19 pathophysiology. In the next part, we are going to see that what happens in the critical phase, what is actually the exact thing, the exact definition of the acute respiratory distress syndrome, what are the different you can say clinical features you are going to see if the patient has the acute respiratory distress syndrome, then how the hypoxia gets progressed, okay, in the acute respiratory distress syndrome, and then we are going to see the classification also, that how you can classify the COVID-19 patients based on their clinical features and the imaging findings. Because it is not possible to summarize all these things in a one video, I decided to make the two videos. So the next video will be over to you in the next week. So again, the same request from all of you, comment down your suggestions for the upcoming videos, because it will really help me to let me decide what should I post next on my channel. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Check our slides on the SlideShare. Okay, you can easily download, so you don't need to write it down, you can easily learn from your downloads. And please like, share and subscribe to HM Learnings. Keep safe. Until then, keep learning.